Now that the Warriors preseason schedule is finally here, we can stop talking about rumors, speculations, and signings and get to basketball. We know the players that are going to grab the headlines, that are going to be the talk of morning shows, that are going to be at the front of highlight packages. That, of course, is the big three of Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, and then you talk about the other people that had the spotlight on them, the Al Horford, DeAnthony Melton, Jonathan Kuminga for a lot of different reasons, the return of Gary Payton II, the third-year leap of Brandon Podziemski, and a handful of others as well. But as the preseason is beginning, I have three Warriors that are flying under the radar right now who easily can remind the outside, don't forget about me. It all starts with Moses Moody. This feels like what I want to call a rinse and repeat situation. We're going into year 5 of Moses Moody, and doesn't he fall under the radar almost every single season? And yes, maybe that's part of just Moses' nature of being more quiet and especially not trying to have headlines around him that are controversial. He's someone who is not going to say the wrong thing in the media. He's not going to stir the pot by any means. Moses Moody is someone who we have the nickname Stay Ready for a reason. It's felt like whenever it's time to call Moses Moody's name from the bench or to jump into a starting lineup role, he is ready. And I'm so interested to see year 5 of Moses Moody because of the player that Moses Moody became after the Jimmy Butler trade. Moses Moody's role has fluctuated throughout his first 4 years with the Warriors, and part of that is it seemed like every single year there's been a roster logjam, especially at that 2-guard position as far as, well, where is Moses Moody going to fit? Then if you even look at the 3, the small forward position, there have been log jams there, whether it's Andrew Wiggins, whether it's his draft classmate in Jonathan Kuminga, or the addition of Jimmy Butler. But Steve Kerr found a way to almost use Moses Moody as a small ball 4 and also be able to use him in the backcourt at the 2, at the 3. So now I think after Jimmy Butler's arrival, you're seeing Moses as this versatile player who can play the 2, can play the 3, and can even play the 4 as well for the Warriors, depending on combinations around Moses Moody. And if you're able to space the floor the way that the Warriors really expect to do with this new roster, that only helps Moses Moody as well too. If he can get open, catch and shoot 3-pointers, that can be something that is an offensive weapon for him. Offensively, Steve Kerr also has talked about Moses Moody being a bigger part of pick and rolls. And more specifically, as the screener, working out of the pocket down low, being able to pass, keep the ball moving. But if he's the screener and it's with somebody like a Steph Curry who attracts so much attention, and Moses can pop back to the 3-point line, find an open area, whether it's on the wing or in the corner, these can all be ways to make his offense simpler and more fit to the 3-and-D player that they expect out of Moses Moody. Then I think about the D, right? And that's where I think Moses Moody can be absolutely so invaluable and important for the Warriors, is that after the Jimmy Butler trade, you lose an on-ball, long defender in Andrew Wiggins. It really felt like Moses Moody took that responsibility head on and said, I can be the on-ball point of attack defender, because that is the name of the game for the Warriors defense this year. It's point of attack, on-ball defense, knowing that behind them, they now have a wall of Draymond Green, Jimmy Butler, and Al Horford as well, who continues to be such a smart, efficient defensive player, even at 39 years old. You're going to see Moses Moody use his length, use that wingspan to hound guards, to hound wings, and even be able to play up as well against these bigger type of players. So look for him where maybe he should be in the mix when I talk about who starts in the backcourt next to Steph Curry because of that on-ball defense. Maybe he's more of a 3. Maybe he's more of a 4. All I know is it really feels like Moses Moody has carved out a role that Steve Kerr can use with multiple combinations now. Number 2, I have Trayce Jackson-Davis, a center whose first 2 years in the league have had ups and they've had downs. TJD as a rookie really looked like a steal of the draft at the very end of the second round, where the final month of the regular season, Trayce Jackson-Davis became the Warriors' starting center, and he gave them something they didn't have as an athletic floor runner who was blocking shots, could be a lob threat offensively as well. And then he carried that same role as a starting center from the end of his rookie year into year 2 last year. Start of the season, it looked like, yeah, that's the way the Warriors were going to go. Trayce Jackson-Davis as the starting center with Kevon Looney coming off the bench, actually. But as the year went on, Trayce Jackson-Davis had some inconsistencies, I would say offensively and defensively. Had some struggles, finishing around the rim. Looked a little bit lost at times defensively as well. And what he really focused on was his conditioning. Trayce Jackson-Davis dropped 15 pounds this offseason to be a lot better laterally, to not just be a vertical player, but to be able to switch onto the wings and guards if need be. And we saw last year, ironically, a second round draft pick, same position as Trayce Jackson-Davis, Quentin Post come in and really make TJD the number 3 center because of the way that Quentin Post can stretch the floor, shoot the three-pointer, something that Trayce has said that he wants to add to his game, but isn't really going to be his go-to, way he gets his points offensively. That's still going to be more off of lobs, off of dunks. He's worked a lot on this little mini hook shot around the rim as well, too. But now that I think about the way that the Warriors have this trio of centers, we talk about Al Horford, we talk about Quentin Post, we talk about Trayce Jackson-Davis. On the outside, it would appear that Trayce Jackson-Davis is going to be the number 3 center again. But not so fast. The way that Al Horford changes so much for the Warriors, the versatility he brings is what Steve Kerr keeps harping on. It is the fact to have a true space flooring number 5 in Al Horford, who is also such a smart player and can work out of the post, can distribute the ball. That, I think, is going to be huge for Trayce Jackson-Davis because the Warriors actually feel like they can play more of these 2 big lineups in using Trayce Jackson-Davis at 6'9", his athleticism, slimmed down, going side to side, still being able to be a vertical threat. He can play the 4 and the 5. I'm really, really interested to see how Trayce Jackson-Davis can look next to Al Horford and how he can look next to Quentin Post as well. So there might be still some games where, yeah, TJD is back of the bench. He's a D&P. He's more of that 12th, 13th man on the roster. But if he can play the 4 and the 5, this is a way to really be able to utilize what Al Horford brings to the floor, what Quentin Post brings to the floor as floor spacing bigs, and to be able to offset the differing skill sets of TJD with QP and with Al Horford. Really interested to see how year 3 TJD looks with the way he can now play the 4 and the 5. My final player is third on the list is Gui Santos. Is he going to jump off the page? Is he going to be the front of highlight packages like some of the other players that we've already mentioned? No, but that's not Gui Santos' job. We know what it is. Every single winning team needs at least one player, hopefully more, that you can rely on every single night is going to bring the energy, that you're going to feel his presence on the floor, whether it's for 3 minutes, 8 minutes, or 18 minutes, if Gui's really going and the offense and the defense is flowing with him on the floor. That's who Gui Santos is. Trayce Jackson-Davis said it best when just the other day when he said Gui's vibe is just so great to have on the floor that they feed off of the energy that he brings every single game. And I also want to note that the way that Steve Kerr talks about him, that he has said he looks a little more athletic this year. He looks bouncier to his game. This is still a really young player who we don't talk about when we talk about the future of the Warriors, when we talk about the young players, Brandon Pajemski, Moses Moody, Jonathan Kuminga, Quentin Post, Trayce Jackson-Davis. Gui Santos gets lost in the shuffle. And I think it's because he does all the small things so right, though. His basketball IQ, the way he sees the floor, is invaluable in a Steve Kerr offense, and it would be great for Gui Santos to get his shooting numbers up. I think that his three-point percentage fell down all the way to 33% last year because when Gui's on the floor, he should get open looks. You know, he's not someone that defenses are going to fly to on the corner. There's going to be other shooters around him, most likely. But offensively, he finds those guys. And more than anything else, it's about the glass, the offensive boards. Gui Santos, despite mostly playing in shorter bursts, had 19 games of having multiple offensive rebounds. The Warriors in those games went 14-5. If Gui Santos grabbed 3 or more offensive rebounds last season, the Warriors only lost 1 game. So yes, the Warriors still have stars in Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, so on and so forth. And they can shine however they do. We know what they're going to bring to the floor. But Gui Santos, he can be a star in his own role and shine in his own way too. Those are my 3 players to keep an eye on that can tell you don't forget about me as they're under the radar now that the preseason has finally begun.